Good afternoon. My name is David Garrett. I'm a communication scholar with a particular focus in communication in the business realm. I've been asked to come here today by Mr. Sam Smithstone, who is your CEO, and he has asked me to present to you guys what I find to be the most immediate problem that you're having in your business today, and to work with you guys to find the solutions to that. So what I'm going to need from you guys is I'm going to need a very high level of openness. I'm going to need a lot of cooperation, and I'm going to need everyone to be able to focus directly on the issues so that we can get these things solved and so that you guys can get back to working effectively in your positions and with each other as well, because the communication is very important in business. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So the immediate problem that we're having is that Josh and Sarah, two employees that work here, Sarah is the head of the 22-person film marketing unit, and Josh is her subordinate. He works for her. They do not work together effectively. And you know, originally, whenever you think about these problems, you wonder whose fault it is. But when it comes down to it, it's not necessarily one person's fault in these situations. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about three of what I find to be the root causes, and then afterward I'm going to present you guys with three solutions that I think can help to solve these this problem, but also to eliminate the root causes and really find the remedy to this solution rather than just dealing with the symptoms. So let's go ahead and get started with the first root cause that I find. And that is the lack of relationship. Sarah, who is the head of the film marketing unit, as I said, is a very, very task-oriented woman. She likes to get things done, which is it's a great thing to have in business. However, sometimes that comes at the expense of a relationship and really bonding with those around you. And because of that, she doesn't know Josh well. The main reason, or probably one of the main reasons that she is so task-oriented and is so focused on that and not so much on relationships, it's because whenever she started working here at Rising Entertainment, she wasn't shown the ropes. She had to take a while before she got on board, and then people started showing her things. She wasn't just given that, hey, this is what we're doing, and this is how it works. So in her mind, the way that she sees it is, when new people come in, they need to go through kind of an initiation phase, which doesn't help the business at all. It actually makes new hires feel disconnected from their work. So it's very likely that she doesn't know Josh's goals, his strengths, probably doesn't even know why he came to Rising Entertainment, which are all things that a leader should know. A leader should be involved with their subordinates so that they can harbor and foster loyalty. So all these things, this ignorance toward who Josh really is has led to the creation of an apathetic subordinate. And without loyalty, Josh isn't going to put in his 110% effort. He's not going to invest his time and his being into what he's doing. He'll get the job done, but he's not going to really harness it and really own it. So what we need to create is we need to find a way to get Josh to do that. However, communication is not a one-sided thing. It takes two people to communicate. If you're communicating with yourself, you're probably doing something wrong. But Josh, who is not very proficient in upward communication. Upward communication is speaking to your managers, communicating with your managers, knowing your managers' goals, their strengths, and really what they want to accomplish and how they want to do that. And so in order for a subordinate to become valuable and useful to their leader, they have to know these kind of things. They have to know what the driving force behind them is, and Josh doesn't know that. You know, they haven't been sharing this back and forth interactions to figure out who each other really are. Another thing Josh needs to know is that when he comes with proposals and recommendations and he's trying to put systems and methods in place, he's going to have to talk to his immediate superior first. She's the one that's going to be developing him. She's the one that's going to be really building him up and making him who he's going to be in the business. That's going to require a lot of extra work for him outside, but he's got to show that initiative if he wants to move up in such a large corporation. So this is the first root cause that I see, is that there's a lack of relationship, and the three root causes that we have are reinforcing each other. They build upon each other. So I started with the most immediate one here, and we'll move on to the second one now. So next, I see that we've got a culture of the business that is the problem. Rising Entertainment is a large corporation, and it's got a lot of levels of authority, which is a great thing. In order to create organization and really delegate out tasks, it's great that you have people that do certain jobs. However, at the same time, that can create a lot of disconnect between the levels if the communication isn't fluid between each other. So what we're seeing here is hierarchy gaps. You know, you've got your senior level guys here, you've got your mid-levels, then you've got your team leads, and your new hires, your new people, your lower employees. That might not all necessarily be all the levels that you guys have here, but that's in general the way it goes. And so what we're seeing is that the people who trained Sarah didn't develop her. She bumped into Sam Smithstone in the hallway, and he exchanged a few words with her and knew her name. And when she walked away, she really was astonished that he even knew who she was. She's been working here for 10 years. For her to not know her boss is a very big problem. They should have open communication by now so that she knows his expectations and how she can support his goals the same way that Josh should support hers. So what's happened is this communication gap in the higher ups has transferred down to the lower levels of the hierarchy, and it's affecting every relationship as we see. So the first one that we have, the lack of relationship, is kind of a product of this. So it's root cause, but it reinforces this one. And the last one that we have here is probably the biggest one that we can have, and it is the overarching root cause of all of this, and that's that we have the generational communication gap. When you have a large corporation like Rising Entertainment, it's common for there to be a promotion by age and experience framework in place, which is great, because you want the people who know the most about your company, who know the ins and outs of things, and the ones that have the wisdom, the life wisdom to really run the business right in positional power. But the problem is, when you have 3 different tiers here of generation gaps, you've got Josh, who is probably a Generation Y-er, he's the youngest, Sarah, who is a Generation Xer, and Sam Smithstone, who could be a baby boomer, but most likely is a veteran. There's a need for generational understanding. The people of different generations need to understand what the others before them and the others below them expect, the way they work, the way that they communicate, and they need to know these things about each other so that they can effectively do their jobs. So with this generational communication gap, we have a barrier. We have several barriers within the company, making it really hard to communicate down the line everything that goes with running the business. So those are the three root causes that I've found in my observations that I've been here. And I really want to get into some solutions now. This is my favorite part. I like actually solving it. It's great to find the problems, but unless you can solve it, you're not doing anything. So let's go ahead and let's get into some solutions. I have 3 solutions. Not necessarily solutions, they're recommendations. This is your business, not mine. But I want you guys to know that this is what I study, and so this is how I feel that you can better your business. The first thing you can do is you can put your small teams, your marketing unit, in close proximity to each other, especially if you can put them on the same floor as each other with maybe a common grounds to share. If they have too much physical distance, it creates a disconnect. Employees, as I saw in the case study that Mr. Smithstone showed to me, can just slip out whenever they want. That's not necessarily a bad problem, but unless you have that accountability from the leader, then they're not going to get their best work done. As we saw with Josh, he submitted a half-effort job to Sarah, and that created a lot more stress for her. But and she wasn't able to communicate that down to him. So that physical distance creates a disconnect, and they kind of feel like they're in 2 separate places when really they're in the same business, they should be working toward the same goal. So what happens if you put people's offices on the same floor, or even in close proximity to where every now and then they'll walk past each other inevitably, is it promotes more face-to-face interaction. This is the biggest thing that you can get with this close proximity, is that the face-to-face interaction creates small talk. If somebody's just an office over and you need a break, you walk over, and as long as it's not to the detriment of your work or their work, you can have small talk, and this small talk creates cohesion and loyalty, and you start to really understand who each other are and your goals and everything. So it's best to do this so that we have a team and everybody wants to pull together for one focus and one goal. Like I said, it harbors loyalty. However, you don't want a big room where you've got your supervisor or your leader sitting there and watching over everyone. Because instead of harboring the loyalty, what that does is show that you don't trust them, and you're forcing supervision. You want the interactions and the encounters with each other to be natural. You want it to just happen. I'm walking by your office and, oh hey, how are you? Oh hey, yeah, I heard you went to this race last week. That's the best way that you can harbor loyalty between leaders to their subordinates, as well as subordinates to their leaders, making both of them give their 100% effort and want to work with each other. Okay, so we got small teams in close proximity. The next thing I want to suggest is that those in leadership study leadership. It only makes sense that if this is what you're doing, you need to learn more about it. You know, these are the people that you're entrusting your business with. It's very easy to find a good worker, but unless they have leadership skills, they don't need to be in that position. And I'm sure that you, as the senior level directors, you know this, and you know that those in leadership need to know about leadership. However, it doesn't necessarily come with experience all the time. You have to study these kind of things, and you have to get insight from others, and you have to be developed. So what I say is that they should go to leadership classes. Here in the Los Angeles area there are multiple and just hordes of leadership classes that you can take. And one of the best websites that I've found around here to go to find these is trainup.com. You go to trainup.com and it gives you a list of a bunch of different topics as far as communication and leadership goes. And they go and they attend the class. It's out of budget. It is a little out of budget. But that's okay, because whenever you spend this money and this time investing in a leader, you're going to see results. You're going to see that money coming back to you. They're going to be pouring into those below you. Those below them. People who are developed tend to want to develop those under them. They see what the higher up leadership does, and that's an example for them. When they say, what do I need to do to move up? I need to be like this guy. I need to be like, Sam Smithstone, or one of you senior directors. I need to be like them. And so if they see you investing in them and developing them and making sure that they're really getting that nurturing and that nourishment, that leadership skill, then that's what they're going to want to do to the people below them. And so if there ever comes a time that you part ways, then there's a person underneath them already being developed, already knows about these leadership skills and is just waiting for the opportunity and is eager to be loyal and to fill those shoes and just show pride in what they do. So investment in these leaders, it yields productivity. That money that you're investing, it comes back. And it yields loyalty to the senior leadership, like I said. This is a great one. It can close the generational communication gap. There are actually classes that I've seen on trainup.com that talks about generational gaps. And this is great for your company as you guys have, you have a lot of older members, wiser members, and then you've got the new guys coming in with all the ambition. But they don't really understand the different levels and the different age groups that we have here. So if they can get in there and they can take those classes, that will boost your sales. That will boost your productivity here. So then the last thing we have, like I already talked about, is it teaches those who take these classes to develop those underneath them. All right. So that's the second thing we have there. So we've got the close teams in proximity, and then we have the leadership classes. And the last thing I want to talk about here is senior leadership follow-up. The same way that we have these small teams in the mid-range here working with the newer subordinates, and they have those meetings and they hold each other accountable. It's very good for your senior leadership to have routine meetings with those team leaders. You don't have a lot of time to spare, I'm sure. But the time that you do have to spare, you can invest in these upcoming leaders, and really show them that you care about their goals and their ambitions the same way that you expect them to care about the ones underneath them. So the things that I want to propose is routine meetings. Maybe you can meet once a week. Maybe that's too much between the two of you. Maybe they think you're micromanaging too much. Maybe it's once a month that you just check in. You hold them accountable and you look at the different things that they've got going on. You provide feedback. And really just show them that you want to be a part of what they're doing, and show them that you have goals as well, and they can in turn communicate to you how they can help you get there. And then the other thing is follow-up meetings after leadership classes. You don't want somebody to go to one of these leadership classes and just drink from a fire hose and get nothing out of it. You want them to come back and you want them to gather their thoughts and really know what just happened. You want them to be able to organize their thoughts and really use it. So what's going to happen is you're going to meet with them after these classes and you're going to say, hey, what did you learn? Tell me about it. And they're going to go through it. And as they talk through it, they'll understand it even more. One of my favorite things, I love training and I love teaching. And so whenever I'm teaching something, I learn a lot more about it than whenever I just actually learn about it, because I have to actually talk through it and get the things going. So if you get those follow-up leadership meetings and they talk it through with you, then they'll really get it down and they'll really want to show you, hey, I got this. I went to this leadership class and you entrusted me, it was a few $100s, and you really think that you invested in me, well, I'm going to show you that it worked. I'm going to get this job done, and I'm going to do it right. So the goals that you can set in these leadership meetings need to be very precise. You don't want to go in without an agenda. You want them to know that you have things you want to talk about. So I've got 5 things here, and one do not do thing. So the first thing is that you want to set expectations and cast vision. You want them to know what you want them to do, how you want them to take these classes, and what you want them to do with the knowledge that they're gaining. And you've got to let them know what the company in general wants, and how that class relates to that. Why would they even go to that class if it doesn't relate, correct? So the first thing you want to set expectations and cast vision. Next thing is monitor progress. With all these team leaders, they're all going to be over groups of people. As you see, Sarah was over 22 different people, so you need to monitor their progress just as she monitors theirs, and to make sure that what she's doing is actually benefiting the company and using these classes and these skills that she's learning to benefit the company. The last thing is, the third thing we have here is provide praise. Everybody needs praise, not just the new guys. Even those that have been there for 10 years, they need praise from those above them. Everyone wants praise. When it comes up to the higher ups, you like praise from your owner, you like praise from your boss, and everybody just likes this feedback. Because if you go throughout every day and you're talking to these people and you're like, okay, well, this is what you're doing wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong every single day, then they're going to hate coming to work. They're not going to want to come to work just to hear what they do wrong when they feel like they can do so much right. So you need to make sure to really celebrate the small victories and celebrate the things that they're doing right, so that it gives them motivation to keep going. The next thing is provide accountability. After you've set expectations and you've cast vision and you monitor their progress, if they're not holding up the standards, you've got to let them know. You've got to say, hey, we held a high level of work here, and we have high standards, and we need you to hold this up. And right now, you didn't hold it up, and I want to know why. Don't just make it a finger-pointing game. You want to really talk with them and figure out why. When you ask them why, that's when you find out what happened. When you go in and you assume you know what happens, that's when you lose it. That's when they think, oh, this person doesn't understand me, just the same way that Josh thinks about Sarah. So the last thing is it fosters relationships through small talk. You can use these opportunities to get small talk, to have small talk with them. If you schedule an hour meeting and it runs to 45 minutes, what are you going to lose spending 15 minutes talking with these people, asking them about their life, asking them, hey, how are things going at home? Yeah, I heard you went to that race, like I said earlier. How'd you do? Have you been training for this the whole time, or was it just kind of a spur of the moment thing? This small talk is what's going to generate the cohesion between you two. So if she has loyalty for you, he or she, I'm just using Sarah in this example, has loyalty toward you, and then the ones under them have loyalty toward them, then in effect those in the bottom have loyalty toward you and are going to push towards your expectations and your vision of the company. So the last thing that I want to say is that you don't want to micromanage. This is not a time for you to go in and say, I want you to change your plan to this, this, and this. You want to give your leadership opportunity. You want to let them have trust, and let them know that you're going to stand behind them when they do it right, and that you're going to trust them to do it right. So you don't want to go in and micromanage. Okay, so those are the three solutions and the three suggestions that I have. And the first, I'll just recap those really quick in case some of you didn't get it in your notes. We have the small teams in close proximity, that is their actual physical location. We have leadership classes that they can attend, and like I said, trainup.com has a lot of resources that you can pull from there. And the last thing is the senior leadership with follow-up to kind of create relationships with those leaders that you have. So I thank you guys for letting me come today. It's been a blast walking around. There's a lot of cool things in your company here that I've gotten to see. And I really want to thank all of you and Mr. Sam Smithstone for allowing me this opportunity. And I really hope you take to heart what we talked about here today. And if you have any questions, you can find me at garrettdavid1@gmail.com, and I will be more than happy to discuss more in depth with you if you have any questions. Well, you guys have a great day. Thanks.